While recovering from surgery, I heard my wife and teenage daughter in the hallway outside my hospital room. Once Dad dies, we'll finally get his life insurance and move somewhere better. I know, Mom. I'm so tired of pretending to care about him. They entered with fake smiles, not realizing I'd heard everything. I thanked them weakly for the flowers they'd brought. 2 weeks later, they both realized their terrible mistake. Life really does come at you fast sometimes. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. For context, I've been with Cindy for 22 years, married for 20. We have a 17-year-old daughter, Megan, who's supposed to be heading to college next year. I've always worked my ass off so they could have a decent life. Not rich by any means. We live in a modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but I was proud of what I provided. Keyword was. 2 weeks ago, I had to go to the ER with what turned out to be a severely infected gallbladder. The pain was insane. Like, imagine someone stabbing you repeatedly while also lighting your insides on fire. Fun times. They rushed me into emergency surgery, but there were complications. My doctor later told me my gallbladder had basically turned into a ticking time bomb, and removing it was messy. I ended up with a nasty infection that kept me hospitalized for a week. The surgery itself isn't the important part, though. It's what happened on day 3 of my hospital stay. I was dozing in and out because of the meds they had me on. You know that weird state where you're not fully asleep but not really awake either? That's where I was when I heard voices outside my door. Cindy and Megan had texted earlier saying they were coming by with flowers. I was about to call out to them when I heard something that made my blood freeze. Cindy was speaking in this excited, hushed tone I hadn't heard from her in years. She said that once I died, they'd finally get the life insurance money and could move somewhere better. Once I died. Not if, once. Like she was counting on it. And then Megan, my baby girl, responded that she was so tired of pretending to care about me. I swear to God, it felt like someone had ripped my heart out through my throat. Like, physically painful. I've never felt anything like it. They had no idea I was awake. The door was slightly ajar, and they were just standing in the hallway having this conversation like they were discussing weekend plans or something. So casual about my death. About how inconvenient it was that I was still breathing. I had maybe 10 seconds to process this before they pushed the door open. And let me tell you, the Academy Awards have nothing on these two. They came in all smiles and concern. Cindy kissed my forehead. Megan put down a vase of flowers and asked how I was feeling. I don't know how I managed it, but I just thanked them weakly for the flowers, said I was tired, asked if they could come back tomorrow. They looked almost relieved to have an excuse to leave. After they left, I just laid there staring at the ceiling for hours. Couldn't sleep, couldn't even cry, just numb. You know what's really messed up? Part of me thought maybe I'd hallucinated the whole thing. The meds they had me on were pretty strong. Maybe I dreamed it up. But then I started thinking about the past year, how Cindy had been asking weird questions about my life insurance policy that I'd upgraded when Megan was born. How she'd been making these comments about her friend's new place in this upscale neighborhood. How Megan had been increasingly distant, always too busy to watch our traditional Sunday football games together. Little things that didn't seem important at the time, but when you put them together, yeah. I spent the night making a plan. First thing I did was text my brother Owen. We've always been close and I knew I could trust him. Just asked him to come by the hospital alone the next morning. Didn't give details. Owen showed up around 9. The nurses had just finished their rounds, so we had privacy. I told him everything. He thought I was joking at first. Can't blame him. It sounds like something from one of those trashy daytime TV shows. But he saw my face and knew. Owen suggested I hire a PI, but I wasn't ready to go that route yet. Instead, I asked him to do some digging through our home computer when Cindy and Megan weren't around. He has a key to our place for emergencies. 2 days later, Owen came back with screenshots. Cindy had been searching how long after death is life insurance paid, and average hospital stay for gallbladder complication. She'd also been looking at houses in neighborhoods we could never afford on my salary alone. There were emails to a realtor about viewing properties once things settle down. I felt like I was living in some alternate reality. This woman had slept beside me for over 2 decades. We'd built a life together. I remembered how she'd cried happy tears when I surprised her with a weekend getaway for our 10th anniversary. Nothing fancy, just a little cabin by the lake, but it was all I could afford at the time. How she'd held my hand through my mom's funeral 5 years ago. Was all of that just fake? Had she been waiting for me to die this whole time? And Megan, that was even worse somehow. I'd taught her to ride a bike, stayed up all night building her science fair projects, worked double shifts so I could buy her the laptop she needed for school. I thought we had a good relationship. Not perfect. What parent of a teenager has a perfect relationship with their kid? But solid. Apparently not. The next few days in the hospital were surreal. They visited every day, and I watched them with new eyes. Noticed how Cindy checked the monitors when she thought I wasn't looking. How she asked the nurses about my progress in this concerned voice that now sounded so false to me. How Megan was always on her phone, barely engaging, clearly just there because she had to be. I started playing up my symptoms a bit, wincing more when I moved, talking about how tired I was, how the doctors were concerned about my recovery. I saw something flicker in Cindy's eyes when I mentioned the doctor wanted to run more tests. Was it hope? The thought made me sick. On day 5, Owen brought me my tablet so I could watch some shows. What I actually did was log into our shared accounts, checked our joint banking history. Cindy had recently been shopping more, nothing crazy expensive, but small luxury items, new shoes, fancy skincare stuff, meals at nice restaurants with her friends. Meanwhile, she'd been complaining about money being tight and asking me to cut back on unnecessary expenses, like my monthly poker night with friends, which costs all of $30. I also found out she'd called our insurance company 3 times in the past month, just verifying details, according to the call logs I could see in our phone account. By the time I was discharged a week after surgery, I had a pretty clear picture. My wife of 20 years was waiting for me to die, had possibly been waiting for years, and she'd poisoned my daughter against me too. The doctor gave me strict instructions for my recovery. 6 weeks of taking it easy, no heavy lifting, regular checkups. I nodded and thanked him while internally making very different plans. Cindy drove me home, fussing over me in a way that now felt suffocating. She'd set up a temporary bed in the living room so I wouldn't have to manage the stairs. So thoughtful, right? Or maybe she just wanted to monitor my condition more easily. That night, while they thought I was sleeping, I texted Owen again. Told him I needed his help with something important, something that would make sure Cindy and Megan would regret the day they decided my life was worth more to them as an insurance payout than as a husband and father. I may be down, but I'm definitely not out. And in 2 weeks, they're both going to realize what a terrible mistake they've made. Update. First off, holy crap at all the responses to my last post. My inbox literally exploded. RIP notifications LOL. Thanks for all the support and advice. Some of you guessed what I was planning, and you weren't far off. So it's been exactly 1 week since I got home from the hospital. One of the weirdest weeks of my life, TBH. Ever try to act normal around people who you now know are basically waiting for you to kick the bucket? 0/10, do not recommend. The morning after I got home, I called my buddy Arthur while Cindy was out grocery shopping. Arthur and I go way back. We played football together in high school, and he was my best man. He's also a lawyer, which is coming in pretty handy right about now. I told him everything. The conversation I overheard, the evidence Owen found, all of it. Arthur was quiet for a long time. Then he just said, "Damn, that's cold." He advised me not to confront them yet. Said I needed more evidence and to get my financial ducks in a row first. Smart man. He came over the next day while Cindy was at her weekly book club. Spoiler alert, based on her Goodreads activity, she hasn't actually read a book in months. We sat in my temporary living room bed setup, and he walked me through all my options. Divorce is obviously on the table, but there's more to it than that. I wanted to make sure that when I pulled the trigger on this, there would be no room for them to weasel their way back in or take me for more than they deserve, which at this point is exactly 0. The first thing Arthur suggested was changing my life insurance policy. Currently, Cindy is the primary beneficiary, with Megan as secondary. We set it up that way years ago when Megan was little. The policy is worth $350,000, not a fortune, but enough to apparently inspire murder by waiting in my dear wife's heart. Arthur helped me contact my insurance agent to make the changes. I removed Cindy completely and changed the split to 60% to a cancer research foundation. My dad died of cancer 10 years ago. And 40% to Megan, but with a twist. It goes into a trust that she can't access until she's 30. And here's the kicker. My brother Owen will be the trustee, not Cindy. So even if I do kick the bucket, Cindy gets exactly jack squat. Next up was our joint bank accounts. We've got about $37,000 in savings. Not a ton, but we've been putting away a little each month for years. Arthur advised me to move half into a new account under just my name. Legally, I'm entitled to 50% without raising red flags in divorce proceedings. So that's what I did. Transferred $18,500 to a new account at a different bank. The look on the bank teller's face when I explained I needed a new account, I must have looked like hell, still recovering and all. She probably thought I was dying for real and trying to hide money from the government or something, LOL. While I was handling the financial stuff, Owen was helping me gather more evidence. He's been coming over to help out around the house while I recover. Cindy actually seemed grateful for this at first, less work for her. But Owen's been paying attention. He noticed how she barely checks on me when she thinks no one's watching, how she sighs heavily when she has to bring me something, little things that add up. And then there's the phone calls. She's been making them from the back porch, speaking quietly. Owen accidentally overheard one while he was taking out the trash. Cindy was talking to her friend Lisa about houses in Oak Ridge. a fancy neighborhood across town that we've driven through before, with me commenting that we could never afford it. Owen said she was discussing financing options that would be available soon. I started keeping a video diary on my phone, just short clips where I talk about what's happening, how I'm feeling, what I've discovered. Date and time stamped. Arthur said it might be useful if things get messy in court. Plus, honestly, it helps to talk it out, even if it's just to my phone camera at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. The craziest part of all this is pretending. I've been playing up my weakness, moving slower than I need to, wincing more than necessary. The doctor said recovery would take about 6 weeks, but I'm actually feeling better already. Not 100%, but definitely not the invalid I'm portraying. It's like this weird psychological game I'm playing, and it's working. Cindy's gotten comfortable with the idea that I'm basically helpless. She's started taking more me time, going out with friends, shopping trips, even a weekend girls' getaway that I'm pretty sure I'm funding. Meanwhile, I'm supposedly too weak to do much beyond shuffle to the bathroom and back. 3 days ago, I hit the mother load. Cindy left her laptop open when she went to take a shower. I almost didn't look. Felt like a line I wasn't sure I wanted to cross. But then I remembered the hospital hallway, the casual way they discussed my death. So yeah, I looked. Her search history was illuminating. Lots of luxury items way beyond our budget, vacation destinations, and emails. So many emails with her friend Lisa about their fresh start plans. One literally said, "Hanging in there, won't be much longer now." Who says that about their husband who just had surgery? I took pictures of everything with my phone, added them to my growing collection of evidence. Then there's Megan. That's been the hardest part of all this. I kept hoping maybe she was just going along with Cindy, that she didn't really mean what she said. But nope. Yesterday, Megan left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to the bathroom. I know her passcode. It's her birthday. Yeah, real secure, kid. I opened her messages. There was a group chat with her friends where she was complaining about having to play nurse for me. She called me pathetic, said she couldn't wait to get out of this dump, and that her mom had promised they'd move somewhere better once the insurance comes through. One of her friends asked if that was kind of messed up. Megan replied with, "Whatever. He's barely even my real dad anyway. He's just the guy who married my mom." That one hit different. I'm not her biological father. Cindy had her from a previous relationship, but I've raised her since she was 2. I'm the only dad she's ever known. I've never once treated her as anything less than my own flesh and blood. I was there for every school play, every scraped knee, every nightmare. I put money aside every month for her college fund. And this is what she really thinks? I sat there holding her phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I almost confronted her right then and there. But I remembered Arthur's advice. Stick to the plan. Don't show your hand too early. So I put her phone back, went to my temporary bed in the living room, and I made a decision about that college fund. See, I've been saving for Megan's education since she was 3. It's not a proper college fund with all the tax benefits. We couldn't afford that setup. Just a dedicated savings account with about $42,000 in it. It's in my name, with the intention of giving it to her when she starts college next year. Well, intentions change. I called Arthur again. Found out that legally, the money is mine. I don't have to give her a penny of it, but despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to just take it all away. So we came up with a compromise. The money will go into a trust similar to the life insurance arrangement. She can use it for education only, with Owen approving the payments directly to the school. No new car, no apartment in a fancy area with her mom. Just education as it was always intended. Last night, I made my final preparation. I transferred the college fund into the new trust arrangement. I gathered all my evidence into a folder on a flash drive with a backup on the cloud. I practiced what I was going to say, how I was going to say it. And then I texted both Cindy and Megan, asking if we could have a special family dinner tomorrow. I said I was feeling a bit better and wanted to celebrate small victory. Cindy seemed surprised but agreed. Megan replied with, "Sure, whatever," her standard response to everything these days. Owen and Arthur both think I should wait longer, gather more evidence. But I'm done waiting. I'm done pretending. The betrayal eats at me every day, making it harder and harder to keep up the act. Every fake smile from Cindy, every reluctant, "Do you need anything, Dad?" from Megan, it's all becoming too much. So tomorrow night, I'm laying it all out. The dinner is set for 6. I've asked Owen to be on call in case things get ugly. I've got printouts of everything. The hospital bill showing the date and time when they were there. Screenshots of their messages. Bank statements showing Cindy's spending. Everything. Part of me is nervous. Not about their reactions. Honestly, I'm beyond caring how they feel at this point. I'm nervous about how I'll feel afterward. Will this even make me feel better? Will anything? But then I remember the cold, calculating way they discussed my death. The way my own family, the people I've given everything for, were just waiting for me to die so they could cash in. And suddenly, I'm not nervous anymore. I'm ready. The table is set. The evidence is prepared. And in 24 hours, Cindy and Megan are going to realize exactly what a terrible mistake they've made. Final update. All right, Reddit. It's been 3 days since the dinner. Sorry for the delay in updating. Needed some time to process everything that went down. Plus, I've been busy moving my stuff out. But I promised you all the final chapter of this saga. So here it is. First off, thanks for all the DMs checking, if I'm okay. I am. Well, as okay as someone can be after their entire family life implodes. But physically, I'm good. Turns out anger is a hell of a motivator for healing. Who knew? So, the dinner. I spent all day prepping for it while Cindy was at work and Megan was at school. I actually cooked everything myself. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs, garlic bread, and a salad. It's Megan's favorite meal from when she was little. Yeah, I'm aware of the irony of making her favorite meal for this particular occasion, but old habits die hard, I guess. I set the table with our good dishes. You know, the ones that normally only come out at Thanksgiving or Christmas. Printed out all my evidence and put it in a folder next to my plate. Set up my phone to record everything. Even shaved and put on a nice button-down shirt instead of the sweatpants and t-shirts I'd been living in during my recovery. Owen texted me around 5 to check in. Asked if I was sure I wanted to do this without him there. I told him I needed to handle it myself, but that he should be ready to come over if I called. Arthur had also texted his support, reminding me to stay calm and stick to the facts. At about 5:30, Cindy came home. She seemed surprised to see the table set and food made. Asked if Owen had helped me with it all. I just smiled and said I was feeling much better. She got this weird look on her face, kind of disappointed, but covered it quickly. Said she was going to change before dinner. Megan got home at 5:45, already complaining about some drama with her friends before she even closed the front door. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw the dining room, asked what the special occasion was. I just said I wanted to have a nice family dinner. By 6, we were all seated. The normality of it was almost surreal. Here we were, having dinner like any other family, while I was sitting on a nuclear bomb of information ready to destroy everything. I waited until they'd both taken a few bites. Cindy was going on about some office gossip. Megan was half listening while scrolling on her phone under the table. I cleared my throat and asked Megan to put her phone away just for dinner. She rolled her eyes but did it. Then I asked them both if they remembered visiting me in the hospital 2 weeks ago. Day 3 of my stay, specifically. They both nodded, Cindy mentioning the flowers they'd brought. And that's when I dropped the first bomb. I played the audio recording from my phone. I'd had the presence of mind to start recording on my smartwatch when I first heard their voices in the hallway that day. The quality wasn't great, but it was clear enough to hear Cindy saying once I died, they'd finally get the life insurance money and move somewhere better. And Megan's response about being tired of pretending to care about me. The looks on their faces. I wish I could show you all. Cindy went completely white. Megan's jaw literally dropped open. For a few seconds, no one said anything. Then they both started talking at once. Cindy claiming I was misunderstanding, that they were talking about something else. Megan crying, saying she didn't mean it. I just sat there, letting them dig their holes deep. When they finally ran out of excuses, I opened my folder and laid out the evidence one piece at a time. The screenshots of Cindy's emails about houses she couldn't afford. The browser history showing her looking up life insurance payout timelines. Megan's text to her friends about me being pathetic and them moving after I was gone. Cindy switched tactics then, going from denial to anger. She started bringing up old arguments, ways I'd supposedly failed her over the years, how I never gave her the life she deserved, how her friends' husbands all made more money, had bigger houses, took nicer vacations. And that's when I knew for sure I was making the right decision. 22 years together, and all she cared about was what I hadn't given her materially. Not the life we'd built, not the memories, just stuff. I let her rant until she ran out of steam. Then I calmly told them both what I'd done over the past 2 weeks. I told Cindy about the life insurance policy changes, how she wasn't getting a cent of it anymore. Her face actually twitched when I said that, like I'd slapped her. I told her about the savings account I'd split, taking my legal half. I informed her that divorce papers would be delivered to her tomorrow, and that I'd already consulted with a lawyer who assured me she wouldn't get much given the circumstances. Then I turned to Megan, told her about the changes to her college fund, how she could still use it for education, but wouldn't be getting it as cash. Her face crumpled at that. She started saying she was sorry, that she didn't mean any of it, that she loved me. And you know what? For a split second, I almost believed her. Almost. But then I remembered her texts, not even the ones about waiting for me to die. The one where she said I wasn't her real dad, just the guy who married her mom. So I looked her in the eye and told her that while I would always love her, I didn't trust her anymore. That trust is earned, and she'd have to earn it back if she wanted me in her life again. Cindy started getting desperate then. Tried to pull the "but we're family" card. Said we could work through this in counseling. I just laughed. Asked her if she'd been thinking about our family bond when she was planning how to spend my life insurance. The dinner was basically over at that point. Food, half-eaten and cold. Cindy crying. Megan texting someone frantically under the table, probably her friends for support. I stood up and told them I'd be staying at Owen's place effective immediately, and that I expected them both to be out of the house by the end of the month, once the divorce proceedings determined how assets would be split. Then I grabbed my pre-packed bags from the bedroom and walked out. Owen was waiting in his car down the street. I texted him when things started getting heated. We drove back to his place in near silence. He asked if I was okay once, and I just nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak much TBH. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has blown up with texts and calls from both of them. Cindy alternating between apologizing, threatening me legally, and begging me to come home. Megan mostly just saying sorry over and over. I've been responding minimally, just factual stuff about the divorce process and when I'll be by to get more of my things. The practical fallout has been complicated. I'm staying in Owen's spare room for now while looking for an apartment. The divorce notification has been delivered, and Cindy apparently had a complete meltdown when she realized I was serious. She's already tried calling Arthur, my lawyer friend, to explain her side. He didn't take the call, obviously. The hardest part has been dealing with mutual friends and family. Everyone wants to know what happened. Some have taken sides without even hearing the full story. My mom has called like 15 times, confused about why her daughter-in-law and granddaughter are suddenly saying I've lost my mind and abandoned the family. I'm handling it one person at a time, showing the evidence when necessary. Most people get it once they hear the recordings. A few think I'm overreacting, that I should forgive them because family is family. Those people can kindly F***CK right off. TBH. So where does this leave? Staying at my brother's place at 49 years old, starting over after 2 decades of marriage. It's not where I expected to be at this point in my life, that's for sure. But you know what? I'm not as devastated as I thought I'd be. There's something weirdly freeing about having all the illusions stripped away. No more pretending everything is fine when it isn't. No more working myself to death for people who see me as a meal ticket rather than a husband and father. I had a beer with Arthur last night, and he said something that stuck with me. He said that some people spend their whole lives never knowing who truly cares about them and who doesn't. At least now I know for sure. It's been 6 months now, since that dinner. Thought you all deserved a final update on how things turned out. The divorce was finalized last month. Cindy didn't get much in the end. Arthur made sure of that. The evidence of her essentially waiting for me to die was pretty damning in the proceedings. She's had to downsize to a small apartment and actually get a full-time job instead of the part-time gig she'd been doing for years. From what I hear through mutual friends, she's bitter AF and telling anyone who'll listen that I ruined her life. Whatever. I've moved into my own place now. Nothing fancy. A 1-bedroom apartment closer to where I work. It's weird living alone after so many years, but also peaceful in a way I'd forgotten. No one questioning why I want to watch football all Sunday. No one complaining about the leftovers I eat for 3 days straight because cooking for one is hard. Just quiet. As for Megan, that's been the most surprising development. About 2 months after everything went down, she reached out asking if we could meet for coffee. I was hesitant, but agreed. She showed up looking different somehow. Smaller, less sure of herself. She'd brought a handwritten letter. Didn't trust herself to say everything right. The gist of it was that she'd been awful. She knew it. And while she wasn't asking for forgiveness, she wanted me to know that she understood now what she'd thrown away. We've met a few more times since then. It's awkward and stilted. Nothing like the relationship we used to have. But it's something. She started college now. A state school she can afford with some scholarships and the trust I set up. Seems to be taking it seriously, which is good. I don't know if we'll ever get back to where we were. Some trust, once broken, stays that way. But I'm open to seeing where it goes. She's young, and young people make stupid, cruel mistakes sometimes. I'm not ready to write her off completely. Cindy, on the other hand, that chapter is closed for good. Some betrayals cut too deep to ever heal properly. So that's where things stand now. Not exactly a fairy tale ending, but a real one. Life goes on, even after the people you thought would always be there show their true colors. Thanks for coming along on this journey with me, Reddit. Your support and advice have meant more than you know during the darkest days of this whole mess. I might not post much after this, trying to focus on rebuilding my life rather than dwelling on the past, but I wanted you all to know how things turned out. Life's too short to spend it with people who are waiting for you to die. Remember that.